The big announcement to come out of that press conference is that MPS will be all virtual for the first 9 weeks of school. A new study found one way to live a happy life is just to ignore some of your responsibilities. Jalea, on that note, you got the rest of the show. I'll see you tomorrow. The major story is going to be Hurricane Zeta and the impacts that we will feel. We're going to go check in with meteorologist Ryan Sinnott for more on that. A lot of people want to hear from you. We've been talking about Zeta. We're going to start in Andalusia, where we've seen the most flooding and damage. If you take a look at some of the video that we shot earlier, to put that number in perspective, around 225,000 people visited the Montgomery Zoo. What would you be willing to give up in order to never pay taxes again? Jalea, I just looked at this survey. Someone said they're best friends. I would never give you up for this. Glad to have you with us this morning. I'm Andrew James. Jalea Brooks has the morning off. We are following the latest developments from Hurricane Zeta, which flew through our area overnight. Alabama Power says close to 500,000 people are without power this morning across the state. We have team coverage of all the damage left behind. Jerome Jones is live in Autauga County, where a portion of Highway 82 is shut down this morning. We also have Samantha Williams live in Montgomery, where there are numerous trees down on homes. We do start with meteorologist Ryan Sinnott, though, for the latest on where Zeta is right now. Ryan, it was an eventful night. Ryan, thank you. Continuing our team coverage, we have crews spread across the area this morning following up on the numerous damage reports. We're going to start in Autauga County, where a portion of Highway 82 is shut down because of downed trees and power lines. Jerome Jones joins us live with more on this. How are things looking there, Jerome? Thank you for that report, Jerome. We're going to stay in Autauga County now. EMA Director Ernie Baggett is joining us on the phone with more on the response across the county. Thank you for being here with us this morning, and just start out by telling us the full assessment. We just saw the damage that Jerome was talking about on Highway 82.
It's going to be very difficult and perilous.
Are there any injuries that have been reported at this point? All right, we are going to move to damage that we're seeing in Montgomery now. Multiple trees are down on homes and power lines across the capital city. Samantha Williams is live with more on that. Samantha? And after multiple hurricanes this year, the Red Cross is in need of volunteers and donations as they prepare to respond to the next disaster. If you would like to help, you can visit redcross.org. And stay with Alabama News Network for complete coverage of Hurricane Zeta. As you can see, we have crews spread all across the area this morning. We will also keep you updated on our Facebook and Twitter pages, so make sure you're following us there. And stay tuned for complete coverage here on Alabama News Rising and throughout the day on Alabama News Network.
Clothes, bed, everything you can name, pretty much gone.
Michael Williams is standing in front of what's left of his apartment building. He lived in one of the 6 units destroyed in a fire at Village Downs Apartments Monday afternoon.
Nobody on a regular day thinks that the apartment will go up in flames. You know, you lose everything.
On top of losing everything, he tells me he didn't have renter's insurance. He says he left the apartment just 10 minutes before the fire started. He's back now to see if any of his 3-year-old daughter's belongings made it through the fire.
That bothered me the most. That really hurts. And I lost most of her stuff. You know, there was a place that she came and was safe. You know, it was a place she enjoyed.
I told him last night I wish I could give him a hug, because I always do that.
Martha Poole Simmons is one of 4 American Red Cross volunteers who immediately responded. They helped families find hotel rooms and get the essentials they'll need in the coming days.
It's almost unbelievable when you've lost everything and it's nothing to pick up.
The American Red Cross has volunteers on call 24 hours a day to immediately respond in situations like this.
A lot of people don't know that this thing like this can actually happen to them. So the worst case scenario is always prepare yourself for the worst.
The nonprofit is now helping 15 people who were displaced by the fire. In Montgomery, Andrew James, Alabama News Network. Currently, the Salvation Army sits where this whitewater facility will be built. Then in April, that sale was put on hold because of the coronavirus. Now, 4 months later, that sale is still in question, and it's been hard to get many answers.
I support whatever makes the most financial sense for the city and for all entities combined.
That was Montgomery Mayor Stephen Reed's response when I asked him if he supports Montgomery's Whitewater Project. The multi-million-dollar project was announced last year by County Commission Chair Elton Dean and then Mayor Todd Strange. It's a partnership between Montgomery County, the city of Montgomery, the state, and other public and private organizations. So I asked again if he supports this specific project.
Well, I mean, I'd love to see the project project come online and if it makes financial sense. And so the devil's in the details. And I think that's what everyone is trying to work out now.
One detail, the sale between the Salvation Army and the city of Montgomery. It was put on hold not long after COVID-19 hit. As you can see in this rendering, the Salvation Army's current building sits near the entrance of the Whitewater facility on Maxwell Boulevard. If the sale is finalized, the Salvation Army would in turn purchase a new property from the city.
A curveball would be an understatement, thrown into it with COVID-19. I think everybody just hit the pause button.
It can't be just a win for the city. It can't be just a win for the Salvation Army. It has to be a win for the city, the Salvation Army, but also the community.
That's what Lieutenant Brian Farrington with the Salvation Army tells me is a big priority for him when it comes to the pending sale. But he admits that the current Salvation Army building on Maxwell Boulevard was built in the 70s and presents many challenges.
It was designed well for the ministry there and then.
The pending agreement with the city would have the Salvation Army purchase and move to 600 South Court Street, the current home of the Montgomery Chambers Business Resource Center, a property he says would better suit the nonprofit's growing ministries.
So this new facility, we can then design it around the ministry that we have now and the many needs that are still arising that are a little different than what they were back in the 70s.
1 year later, and this is what the proposed site looks like. You can see not much has changed. And now with the uncertainty of the sale, will Montgomery's Whitewater project still happen?
Whitewater's still going on. Yes, it's still going on.
That's Montgomery County Commission Chair Elton Dean. He assures me this project is still happening and says the Salvation Army property is still in the mix, but that sale may not happen this year.
We have the property that we need for this Whitewater project to be successful without the Salvation Army, but we want to have the Salvation Army, to complete the project.
The Montgomery County Community Cooperative District, the group appointed by the Montgomery County Commission and Public Building Authority, is overseeing this project. Dean tells me they have moved into the design and development phase, which should be finished next May. The anticipated groundbreaking should happen next summer. When the project was first announced, county leaders said it would open in March of 2022. That has now been pushed back to summer of 2023.
Tell them to get ready because we're going to be in that Whitewater Park, zip lining, canoeing, hoteling, and everything else we probably can do.
County leaders say 300,000 people are expected to visit the Whitewater facility each year. To put that number in perspective, around 225,000 people visited the Montgomery Zoo last year. This is the letter former state school superintendent Michael Sinton sent MPS in January of 2017. It identifies major issues in the school system and expresses his intent to intervene, giving the state full control. Much of his concern focused on the school system's finances, but he also highlighted issues with student achievement, nutrition, and transportation.
Yes, we're ready. We're ready to be out from under the state intervention.
MPS Board President Claire Wheels says a lot has changed since then. For starters, she and the majority of the current school board were elected after the intervention got underway. Superintendent Dr. Ann Roy Moore was also not with MPS for the start of this process.
We have a great superintendent. This board has made leaps and bounds in being working together.
Just this week, the MPS board sent State Superintendent Dr. Eric Mackey a letter outlining the improvements they've made while under intervention. Wheels says two big steps were hiring a full-time chief financial school officer and regaining full accreditation.
Been able to have our 1 month operating reserves. We have delivered a balanced budget on time.
More ways the school system is now in better financial standing. State Superintendent Dr. Eric Mackey tells me he received the letter Wednesday evening and will be going through it soon. The State Board of Education would then have to vote to remove MPS from intervention.
We'll take that. We'll look through and see if the evidence supports that and then bring that to the board for a discussion.
Those discussions could begin as early as next month. Mackey says MPS officials will have the opportunity to take questions from state board members about the progress. In Montgomery, Andrew James, Alabama News Network.